Welcome to Artistic Documentation. In these series we are providing courses to develop English speaking, understanding, and hearing knowledge. This is our first paragraph reading test. Amphibians, primarily including frogs, toads, salamanders, newts, and Sicilian, are often studied as biological models because of their transitional physiology, fascinating life cycles, and structural adaptations that highlight both primitive and advanced vertebrate traits. In a typical amphibian anatomy class, students begin by examining external morphology to understand how the physical structures correlate with habitat and behavior. For instance, streamlined bodies, webbed feet, and moist skin characterize frogs, enabling efficient swimming and gas exchange through the skin, a process known as cutaneous respiration. Observing the integumentary system, students note that amphibians lack scales like reptiles and instead possess a thin, permeable skin layer rich in mucus glands, allowing them to stay moist and facilitating respiration. This characteristic also makes amphibians highly sensitive to environmental toxins, making them important bioindicators. As the class progresses into internal anatomy, dissection is often employed to explore organs and systems. The muscular system of amphibians is studied to understand locomotion. Frogs in particular show powerful hind limb muscles adapted for jumping. In contrast, salamanders exhibit more uniform muscle distribution conducive to crawling or swimming. Skeletal analysis reveals that amphibians have a vertebral column designed for support and flexibility, but it is less ossified than that of reptiles or mammals. Frogs have a specialized pelvic girdle and elongated limbs to support leaping, while salamanders retain a more generalized body plan resembling ancestral tetrapods. In the cardiovascular system, students examine a three-chambered heart, consisting of 2 atria and 1 ventricle, which represents an intermediate step in vertebrate circulatory evolution. This configuration allows for partial separation of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, a step above fish but not as efficient as the 4-chambered heart of mammals and birds. The respiratory system in amphibians is equally diverse. They may breathe through lungs, gills, or their skin, depending on the species and developmental stage. For example, tadpoles rely on gills before metamorphosis, while adult frogs develop lungs and rely on cutaneous respiration in moist environments. Students are introduced to the buccal pumping mechanism that amphibians use to ventilate their lungs. Unlike mammals, they must actively push air into the lungs using muscles in the throat region. The digestive system of amphibians is relatively simple but effective, with adaptations for their carnivorous diet. They possess a wide mouth, often with a protrusible tongue in frogs that aids in prey capture. The stomach, small and large intestines, and cloaca are examined to understand how amphibians process food, absorb nutrients, and excrete waste. The urinary and reproductive systems are often studied together due to their shared use of the cloaca for waste and reproductive output. Students may explore how reproduction is often external in frogs, with males clasping females in amplexus and fertilizing eggs as they are laid in water. Salamanders may exhibit internal fertilization through spermatophore transfer, showing the diversity of reproductive strategies within this class of vertebrates. The nervous system and sensory organs are another crucial focus. Amphibians possess a brain with specialized regions, including the olfactory bulbs, optic lobes, and cerebellum, but these are relatively simple compared to higher vertebrates. Nonetheless, amphibians exhibit well-developed senses. Frogs have large, protruding eyes and a nictitating membrane for protection, while their tympanic membranes allow them to detect sound vibrations, a necessity for vocal communication during mating seasons. Salamanders and Sicilian, however, may rely more heavily on chemosensory cues, especially in dark or aquatic environments. The lateral line system, inherited from their fish ancestors, is retained in aquatic larvae and adult amphibians that remain in water, allowing them to detect changes in water pressure and movement. This functional overlap of primitive and derived traits makes amphibian anatomy a compelling study of evolutionary biology. Students also explore how metamorphosis, a hallmark of amphibian development, transforms both internal and external anatomy. Tadpoles initially resemble fish, with tails and gills, but as they mature, they develop limbs, absorb the tail, lose their gills, and grow lungs, marking a profound anatomical shift driven by endocrine changes, particularly the role of thyroid hormones. In laboratory sessions, students may use digital tools or virtual dissections alongside traditional specimens, especially in institutions that aim to reduce animal use. Interactive 3D models of frog anatomy allow students to visualize organ placement, circulation pathways, and muscular systems in an engaging and humane way. By the end of the course, students gain not only a detailed understanding of amphibian anatomy but also a foundation for more advanced studies in vertebrate biology, veterinary science, or herpetology. In essence, an amphibian anatomy class serves as a bridge between basic biological principles and real-world applications in medicine, research, and environmental stewardship. The rich anatomical features, ecological importance, and evolutionary significance of amphibians make them an ideal subject for studying vertebrate structure and function. Question 1. What is one key feature of amphibian skin that distinguishes them from reptiles? A. Thick scales to prevent water loss. B. Dry, keratinized skin. C. Thin, permeable skin with mucus glands. D. Feathers for insulation. Correct answer is option C. Explanation is, amphibians have moist, thin skin that allows for cutaneous respiration and contains mucus glands to keep it hydrated, unlike reptiles which have dry, scaly skin. Question 2. How many chambers does a typical amphibian heart have? A. 2. B. 3. C. 4. D. 5. Correct answer is option B. Explanation is, amphibians have a 3-chambered heart, 2 atria and 1 ventricle, which allows partial separation of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Question 3. What type of respiration is used by adult frogs in moist environments? A. Gill respiration. B. Tracheal breathing. C. Cutaneous respiration. D. Spiracular breathing. Correct answer is option C. Explanation is, adult frogs can breathe through their skin, cutaneous respiration, especially in moist conditions, in addition to using lungs. Question 4. Which part of the amphibian brain is responsible for processing smells? A. Cerebellum. B. Medulla. C. Optic lobes. D. Olfactory bulbs. Correct answer is option D. Explanation is, the olfactory bulbs are part of the amphibian brain responsible for detecting and processing odors. Question 5. During which process do tadpoles transition to adult frogs? A. Evolution. B. Germination. C. Metamorphosis. D. Fertilization. Correct answer is option C. Explanation is, amphibians undergo metamorphosis, a major anatomical transformation, from aquatic, gill-breathing larvae to terrestrial adults with lungs and limbs. Question 6. Why are amphibians considered good bioindicators in ecology? A. They live only in polluted water. B. They have thick, dry skin that absorbs toxins. C. They have permeable skin sensitive to environmental changes. D. They feed on toxic plants. Correct answer is option C. Explanation is, amphibians' permeable skin makes them highly susceptible to pollutants and climate changes.